Well, so hi everybody. Thank you for being here. As mentioned, I'm Adrian. I'm a master's student at EPFL in Lausanne, Switzerland. But at the moment, I'm also working part-time for Taurus Group, where we're exploring the world of MPC, especially in the context of cryptocurrency custody. I'm going to be presenting SPDZ protocol, or SPEEDS, as it's often referred to, which is a framework introduced by Nigel Smart, I'm sorry, I don't remember, Pastro, Demgard, and Zacharias in 2011. And the idea is it extends classic additive secret sharing with message authentication codes. It's a general purpose MPC engine and allows you to evaluate any arithmetic function using secret inputs from participants. And the nice thing is it works even with a dishonest majority. And we're going to be going over this paper and the different components, so I'll get a high-level overview of how it works. So the motivation for this is, well, the common MPC problem where you have this function f, which you would like to evaluate over the inputs x1 to xn among n participants, p1 until pn, who each hold their respective private inputs. We'll be working with elements from a field fq, where q is a prime power. And we're going to be assuming that the function f is arithmetic, so it's no bit shifting or whatever. So just so it operates over the field. We want to make sure that the two big properties for any MPC problem like this is you want to make sure that the only information revealed from this protocol is the output, and you learn nothing about any private inputs. And you want to obviously make sure that the output is correct. Now, you want to make, like, you're going to make certain assumptions on the number of corrupted parties you're allowed. So this is the number, the integer t, called the threshold. And here we're going to assume this dishonest majority, which means more than half of the participants may be corrupted. And in particular, we can assume up till n-1 are malicious. So this means that we usually cannot guarantee output delivery or stuff like fairness, because if you have only one honest party, the others could just like deny service to that single participant. So SPDZ is just a set of protocols that implement this ideal functionality for operating over shared secrets. So this is common when you have stuff which is proved under this universal composability framework. And it's essential in this case because you're going to be composing these different operations with each other. You might be doing them in parallel, so you want this security feature. We won't be going over it, but it's important to note. The secret sharings, go over it quickly again. So we are going to be considering only additive secret sharings, so this just means that a value x is shared between the n participants. Each participant has this share xi, and the value of x is the sum of all the xi's. In contrast with the Shamir secret sharings from last week, this is basically saying where the threshold is set to n-1, and we need all shares to reconstruct the output. If we come back to this evaluation of a function f of the n inputs, what we're going to do is we're going to transform each of those secret inputs into these variables as secret sharings. We're going to do this in a secure way, and then we're just going to be performing f over these secret sharings instead. In a formal way, we can kind of think of this transition as, I mean, like this table kind of represents the translations you would be doing. So if you're going to be sampling a random value, that just means that this should be R, sorry, that each party is going to be sampling a random value. For addition of x and y, each party just adds up their different shares. And if you want to open a value or reveal it, that just means that each party is going to be revealing their share xi, and then you can sum them up to obtain the value x. For multiplication, this is a bit more involved, and as we saw last week again, we can do this using the beaver triples techniques. one particularity though is that like you would never do this in practice, because you want to make sure that whenever you open a value, you don't reveal anything, and you want to make sure it's correct. So this opening step is naive, and you would not actually do this. So what SPD does for this is that to make sure that the values are correctly computed, even when you're doing stuff locally, is that you accompany the secrets with this message authentication codes, and they allow you to verify that the local computations were done correctly.
I have a question.
Yes.
Are you still showing the? I'm only seeing like the starting slide. Is that what you're meaning to do?
No.
Or
no. Let me see. I
mean, I thought you explained it well, so I was able to follow.
Sorry.
But then
I had like a pointer and everything.
Ah.
Sorry about that. Wait. Oh, okay. I just realized I don't get my notes at the same time. Wait, just give me 1 second. I'll see it. Can I? Okay.
Take your time.
Sorry. Okay. So yeah, this is what I was saying with the translation. So you can sample random values by having each party sample one. You can do addition by adding up the secret shares. You can do the opening by broadcasting, and the multiplication by beaver triples. Okay, sorry about that. I don't know if there's anything here. I'll show the slides afterwards in any case.
Sorry, so the sharing is additive all the time, or do we do some kind of resharing to make?
It's always additive, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there can be resharing involved, but we just consider that all these sharings, when we have this notation here, this means that the secret is additively shared. However, we'll show how we use different notation to represent the sharings, which are protected with these message authentication codes tags. But I'll go over it afterwards. But so yeah,
Now I don't know if it's just me, but now the screen is sort of square, and I'm only seeing like the right half of the slide.
Oh, now it's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah, that looks good.
Okay, good. Perfect.
So
sorry.
The whole protocol is not going to tolerate crashes, right? I mean, even one node crashing would crash the SPDZ.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Because of this dishonest majority, if you have you're going to basically, you can't detect any malicious party. You're just going to be aborting if anything malicious happens. So if one of them crashes, then you're lost. The idea is, though, that these secrets, you don't want them to be long, or the secret sharing representations of your private inputs are not going to be long-lived. So you're going to generate the secret sharings from your inputs at the start of the function evaluation. And you can redo this if you're going to reuse them later on. It'll become more and more clear afterwards, I think. If not, you tell me. But so SPDZ works in these two phases, this online and offline phase. And this is because for a lot of like for this multiplication stuff, for example, you use this beaver circuit randomization technique, which allows you to hide the inputs and compute a multiplication of two secret sharings securely without revealing anything. But to generate, and this relies on these multiplication triples, and to generate them is quite expensive. And so you're going to do this in the offline phase, or pre-processing. And you're going to use this homomorphic encryption technique to do it. This is also the step where you're going to be generating the MAC keys. And the idea is that these public key crypto techniques replace the trusted dealer. But it means that it's much heavier computationally. But however, once all of this is generated, you have an online phase, which involves, so as I mentioned, generating secret sharings from secret inputs. You being able to operate on them and reveal information which does not reveal anything about the secrets. And you also have this output reveal protocol where all the MACs are checked and you can make sure that the value computed is correct. So now we get to the actual representation. So the idea is you have these two different extensions of the secret sharings. So we'll call angle A and double bracket R. You're going to have a MAC key K, which is going to be global. It's going to be generated at the beginning of the function evaluation, and it's going to be used at the end to make sure that everything is correct. We'll start with these angle sharings. So it's composed of three parts: a little delta, which is simply a public value which accompanies the tag, as well as a classic sharing of A, and the actual tag delta, big delta of A. Now I realize like I've used little delta and big delta, so orally it's going to be difficult to understand, but we won't be using this much. This is it's initialized to 0 and it's just updated when you do addition, but it's a detail. So each party has delta A, their share of A, and their share of the tag big delta of A, and they're related through this formula. And obviously, well, you can only compute this once all the values are revealed. These sharings are used for representing the variables in the circuit, as well as the output. And as I mentioned, if anything is opened, the validity of everything is going to be checked at the end. But you have this problem because you need the MAC key, you need to reveal it so that you can verify the validity of all the secret sharings you obtained. However, if you have the MAC key, then you can do forgeries. So there's this kind of chicken and egg problem, which makes the output phase of the protocol a bit more involved. Now, on the other hand, you have this other representation, double bracket R, which is just an extension of the sharing of R, but it's represented by n different tags, which is where S and each party has their secret private MAC key. And so you're going to be authenticating the value of R for each party, and this is going to be their tag. And so this is the relation for each party. And the idea is that you can open this value for a specific party by simply by having each party sending to, so let's say you want to reveal the value to party 1. All the other parties are going to send their share of R and their share of the tag for party 1 to party 1, and then party 1 can check that this value holds, this relation holds, because they'll have reconstructed the tag and the value. If you want to open it for everybody, that just means you broadcast the shares to everybody and everybody can verify it. And this representation is used in particular to guard the value of the value of the secret key, which will be revealed at the end. And it's also used in the input step where each party can generate a secret sharing from their private inputs. Now, just briefly go over the homomorphic encryption techniques used.
Can you go back one slide?
Yes.
So, how much computation does it require to compute these representations? In the first one, you need to actually multiply by k, which is shared at the times of multiplication. So that requires private multiplication, right?
Yes. So all of these, you're going to be generating them during the input phase, or the initialization phase, and you're going to be using this homomorphic encryption technique to generate them. So in particular, so for here, you're going to have to, if you're assuming that delta of A is initialized to 0, you're going to have to compute this multiplication.
So sorry, A will be input here.
Yes.
Okay. So for each input, we'll, despite of future computations that we'll want to do, we'll need one multiplication for each input just to for starters.
Yes, but these multiplications are going to be done using this homomorphic encryption. I'm going to go over it. I think it'll make more sense in a slide or two.
Okay, sure.
But yeah, you're right. So it's quite involved. It requires this multiplication, which you can do then with this homomorphic encryption. So the idea is that you have a private public key and a shared secret key, and you're able to encrypt and decrypt messages. It should be EM, I'm sorry. But the nice thing is that you can do multiplication and addition over the ciphertext, and the result will be reflected in the plain text once decrypted. For decryption, you're gonna need to do it in a distributed way because you don't want to leak the secret key. So it's going to be another protocol, which is going to depend on the implementation used. But this is quite involved. In general, these homomorphic encryption protocols are quite involved. So this is what you're going to be doing in the pre-processing step, and the next slide is going to go over how you actually use them to generate the secrets. Oftentimes, though, you need to accompany a ciphertext with a zero-knowledge proof of plaintext knowledge. So just a proof that the ciphertext is the correct encryption of what you're trying to encrypt. And so the way we use this, there's three basic protocols for, first of all, generating the classic sharings of X, the angle ones, and double bracket ones. So we're going to assume a party wants to share or you have this value X and you want to generate a sharing of it, but you only have the ciphertext. So what you're going to do is you're going to generate a random sharing of R, basically. Each party is going to encrypt their share and broadcast it along with a zero-knowledge proof. You're going to be obtaining a ciphertext of the sum of all of the shares of R, as well as a ciphertext of X plus R. Now, as long as one party here has behaved honestly, the value of R here is going to be uniform. Therefore, this value is also going to be random, so it reveals nothing about X. So you can then do this distributed decryption to obtain X plus R. You don't actually know X or R. And you can define the shares for single party P1 is going to be X plus R minus their share. And for all other parties, it's going to be minus R. And you can verify that so the sum of all the X's are going to be equal to X. And so this is a protocol you would run. So, and you use the additive property. There's also, the paper mentions that you can also choose to re-encrypt the ciphertext here, and that's used in some situations, but I won't go over it because it's been more details, but you can do this. For generating these angle sharings, so you have to assume that you already have the sharing of X and the ciphertext of the value. And then you can simply do the homomorphic multiplication to obtain a ciphertext of X times K, which is just the ciphertext of the MAC. And then you do this protocol again to obtain the final representation of angle X. And this, you do the same idea for the double bracket X, where, except that, again, it's a bit more involved this time, where each party is going to generate the MAC using their private key. And then you generate the appropriate sharing for each tag. And this then gives the full representation. Is this clear for everybody?
What's a bit unclear for me is the last part with this double bracket. I mean,
okay.
So how many of this multiplications do you need? Is it that you need n multiplications to?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, all these values, these ciphertexts can be public. So each party can compute this, right? Mm-hmm. And then
it's encrypted X times encrypted what?
SI. So this is, I think I forgot to mention that this SI here, mm-hmm. This is each party's private key.
Okay.
And so the parties can safely and publicly reveal the encryption of this, which will be this. And assuming each party has the encryption of the ciphertext and an existing sharing, well, you can then obtain the encryption of the MAC tag for party PI.
So now it occurs that for each input, you actually need n multiplications, even despite the circuit that you want to compute.
Yes, yeah. Generating these involves more multiple. Well, I mean, each party is going to have to do this. You could, I mean, you could. I think each party would have to do this locally. So yeah, each party would have to do then n multiplications. Yeah. Yeah.
But then these things needs to be reshared, right? So resharing uses the thing on the left, which is like not local thing.
Yeah, this is a protocol that like these are all protocols that you're going to be executing in the offline phase or the pre-processing.
Okay. No, how that's possible? I mean, you need inputs to do it.
Okay, so that's the thing, because actually the inputs are going to be generated using all of these techniques. So you could generate some random random sharings, double brackets here, and there's a protocol for using these to convert the there's a protocol for converting a private share xi, for example, to such a notation, to such a representation, using these. So you're going to be the pre-processing step is going to be involve generating lots of triples in
so
this notation.
That's basically the beaver triple trick, right?
Yeah, they're going to be used after. And so so if you want to generate beaver triples, well, it would be the same technique. So you would generate two sharings for, let's say you want to generate A B, so and A times B, which is C. You would generate a random A, a random B, and then do the multiplication on the ciphertext, and then convert everything to these representations like this, if that makes sense.
I think it does, but well, the next question will be, is this paradigm of multiplying encrypted things and then sharing them as a secret sharing, is it going to be the main paradigm for multiplication even in
No. So multiplication is definitely using the beaver tricks.
Okay.
This is more the steps involved to generate the beaver triples.
Okay.
So so this one maybe will answer your question about the inputs. So what you would do if you're going to evaluate a function, you're going to run this initialization phase where you're going to be generating the key k.
Okay, so sorry, one more question. So the thing from the slide before, this is like a more powerful beaver triple, basically. It's a beaver triple with authenticated parts or authenticating parts.
Yeah. So this just takes a ciphertext of a value and generates an appropriate representation. So you can use this to generate a beaver triple. I didn't write down the details here, but it's not that complicated. I think you need to generate so you generate two random A and B, do all this stuff with the broadcasting and the publishing the zero knowledge proof, then multiplying the ciphertexts, applying the tag. It's a combination of these two protocols for generating a beaver triple.
Okay, and all of that could be swapped for like another beaver triple generation protocol.
Yeah, so.
Oh, but this generates authenticated triple. So you've got a triple, and you can be sure that it works. That's what.
But just to be clear, like a triple is going to be like A, B, C. This is going to be one of the triples you're going to want to generate.
Okay.
So it's going to start out, but you're going to start out by generating like A, B, and the ciphertext of EA, EB. then you're going to generate the ciphertext of EC, and then from this, you're going to generate a sharing of C, and then from both of these, oops, sorry, you're going to, from these, you're going to be generating the angle ones. Is that clearer?
Yes. And what about the double bracket ones?
So these, I mean, you would just you generate a random value and its ciphertext. So for the bracket ones, you would just need to, so it's easy to generate this, right? Because you just need to sample uniformly. You then generate the ciphertext, you do broadcasting, blah, blah, you obtain this and the ciphertext. And so from these two, you can obtain the double bracket ones. But you don't need to obtain beaver triples of these.
Okay.
You only need to obtain beaver triples of these.
Okay, so the preprocessing, okay. I get it.
Okay. So for the actual protocol, so when you're going to want to evaluate this function, the first step you're going to do is you're going to generate the key K as a double bracket one. So it's just going to be random sharing, which you're going to find as K using the technique from the slide before. You're going to be generating these triples. You're also going to need some pairs R and angle R and double bracket R, and just some single random values of T. So all of these are going to be random, but these are going to be the triples, the beaver triples. The first protocol you're going to need is to convert private shares into these angle sharings. So you're going to take a random pair R, and you're going to open R, but only for PI. So for that to happen, each other party is going to send to PI PJ's share of this and this, so that PI is going to be reconstructing this value and this one. And then once that's reconstructed, PI can check that this holds. Now, PI has obtained this value, and they can broadcast this value epsilon, which is xi minus r. And since r, we can assume this is random, epsilon won't reveal anything about xi. And then every party can compute using the angle sharing of r, their share of xi by adding this epsilon. And so I didn't mention this, but when you add a constant to an angle sharing, what you do is you just set the delta r, you subtract epsilon, and for only the first party adds epsilon to their share, and the rest remains the same. And so the MAC will still work in this case. Does that make sense? Okay. So now you've got also multiplication is the same idea as before with the beaver triples, but it's a bit more involved. What you're going to do is you're going to require two beaver triples, ABC and FGH, and the idea is you're going to be sacrificing one of them to check that this one is valid. To do this, it's like I said, it's kind of like the beaver technique where you're going to be revealing two values, rho and sigma. You're going to be opening this random double bracket T. Just mentioning this, when you're opening this, I mean that you're doing it securely, so you're sharing the max to everybody, and so everybody can locally reconstruct T and verify that the tag accompanying it is correct. And then you're going to open this long thing. It's complicated. I'm going to go to the next slide, which explains it nicely visually in the same way. And you're going to check that this is 0. And if that passes, then you're sure that this triple is valid. And so you can use it then for the beaver multiplication, like we saw last week, where you you open x minus a and y minus b, and then you compute your new sharing of z, which is all this thing. So the idea is that you've got a times b, which is equal to c, and x times y, which is equal to z. So what you're going to be doing is that you've got c here, plus e times b plus delta times a plus epsilon times delta, and that's going to be equal to z. So it's a nice visual representation of how it works. And these values here that you open don't reveal anything about the underlying x or y. So to go over the verification check I did, the idea is you want to verify that a times b is correct. Ooh, I think wait, let me just take off my headphones. They are out of battery.
Do you still hear me?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. Okay. And so what you're going to be doing is you want to share these values rho and sigma. You're going to be using the values of f and g and h to make sure that t times c is equal to, so you've got this part and this part and this part and this part. So it's the same idea as the beaver technique. So this is just a nice visual representation of how it works.
Sorry, what's the goal here? I mean, what do we want to share by means of what?
What we're trying to do here is we want to show that ABC is a valid multiplication triple.
Without revealing anything about ABC.
Exactly, and by sacrificing this FGH triple.
Okay.
And so this is the computation involved. So you're going to be revealing this t times a minus f and b minus g, which is equal to sigma.
What's t?
Sorry, d? Oh, there's no d. It's they skipped it.
So we have ABC and the sharing that we want to check. It's a beaver triple. We've got DE.
We've got F, G, and H is the value of this rectangle.
Okay, I'm sorry. So we want to check a triple ABC by sacrificing triple DEG.
FGH, yeah.
FGH, that's a triple we want to sacrifice.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so what do we reveal? And I don't really get the translation between what do we reveal and this picture with.
So this is the computation you're doing here. So you're going to be opening t times c minus h minus all this, and this should be equal to 0 because they're calculating the same t times. Rather, coming back to this, you're going to be doing this minus this minus this minus this, and you're going to be checking that 0.
Okay. Okay. And what the colors are coding the colors coding the.
So you've got this here is h. So so this is the sacrificing triple, right?
Mm-hmm.
F, G, H.
Okay.
Here, this one here is A, B, and the area in red here is C. The green part here is T times A times B, so it's T times C. And so this T is going to be a random thing that you opened.
Okay. And
so you're going to be hiding this effectively hides the value of C as well as the value of A and the value of B, because B is hidden because you've got these two. A is hidden because it's determined by F, rho, and T, and the value of C is hidden by this T here.
Okay, I think it's pretty. I mean, it's not gonna get any more clear by.
It took me a while to work it out in my head.
Yeah. Sure.
I think it helped. What I wanted to illustrate is I think for this and the beaver triples, it's useful to think about it visually and what you're trying to do with it. and it gives them more sense, or at least it did for me.
May I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
As all these operations are performed actually in the field modulo queue.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
please go on.
pardon?
If these operations are performed in the field modulo queue,
mm-hmm.
Can we safely assume that the geometric interpretation of this formula is correct?
So I would, I wouldn't. I don't think so. I think this I wouldn't put too much weight on this geometric interpretation. For me, it serves more of a purpose of like trying to understand like why this formula here way was written down. Formally, you should stick to this formula. Is what I'm saying.
Okay, thanks.
But it's just like I saw this representation of the beaver triples once, and I thought it was like cool, and it helped me understand like what's actually going on. So yeah, I think it's just a neat trick. But okay, so then finally, so once you've actually done all the computations for f and you've obtained the output y, well, before revealing it to everybody, you're going to want to check it. So at this point, you may have revealed some values A1 until AT. So these may result from the openings you need to do during the during this beaver checking and so on. Because of how they're constructed, they don't reveal any information about the secret values. So they've been safely opened, but they haven't been verified yet. You can only verify them once you have the key K, but you don't want to reveal the key K before revealing Y, because otherwise the malicious parties could update their shares using Y and have a valid code. So this is why it's a bit more involved, let's say. What you're going to be doing is you're going to be opening a random double bracket E with all the checks, obviously, that the MAC is correct, as we mentioned before. And then you're going to be constructing this other value A, which is the way I see it is you're taking a polynomial where the coefficients are these A1s until ATs, and you're evaluating it as random E. That's just the way I see it. You're going to be constructing a MAC basically for all of these values for this value A, using again this kind of polynomial thing. And at this point, each party commits to this value big delta of I, their share of Y and their share of the tag of Y. So at this point, you can't change anything. So even if now you can safely reveal K, because the parties will not be able to change Y or delta Y. And so you reveal this, and each party then checks the MAC tag associated to it. Then you decommit this tag here, and with this formula you check that this basically allows you to verify that all of the tags for these values were correct. So you know that if all the values revealed up till now are correct, then it's safe to continue. In any case, you abort if any of these steps fail, and it's okay to do so, and the final value Y has not been revealed. The issue is that these values A1 till AT do not contain any private information, but this output Y might. So you really want to output Y as a last step. So once you've verified that all of these have been computed correctly with the MAC tags, you can then decommit Y and the tag, and then check if it's correct. And then you only release the output Y if this check works. Now, the one way to see it is that, for example, if you've got like a really simple circuit, which is just like an addition or something, if if all parties except for one act maliciously, if you're doing an addition and all parties, the malicious ones, are sending a share of 0 instead of their actual share, then the output would be simply the honest party's private input, if that makes sense. So the Y here might contain information which would reveal something about the honest party's input. Sorry.
Okay, so this commitment, which commits to delta I and shares of Y. Mm-hmm. So it's not one. I mean, you do not want to open delta Y's and shares of the output at the same time, right? Because it may happen that someone was cheating, and in that case, you do not want shares of the output to be public.
So you can only so you would decommit it. So essentially, like the program would decommit these, but wouldn't return them as the output of the So for if you take a program which does this protocol, like you don't want to appear on your screen a value if it's not correct.
Okay.
However,
so
you can.
In that case, in this protocol, it may happen that in this case with only one honest party, it may happen that the adversary will extract the output out of him without actually outputting it. I mean,
so
it may happen that the adversary will learn the output, and the output will not be formally output from the protocol. Because,
yes, but
in the last stage, they can just lie about their shares, and well, they will see the honest shares. So with their correct shares, they will just learn what was the output, and the honest parties will not learn the output.
Yeah. So yeah, this last step just checks that the output is correct, but if I understood correctly, like this step here makes sure that all the computation you've done before. So this is also, these values here are also, I think you'd also be revealing stuff from the input conversion step. If I'm, I think, wait, let me just check. In the input, you would, no, you don't actually reveal, no. So that's a good question. I think this just makes sure, yeah, that this just makes sure that you don't output an incorrect value. But
yeah, I'm pretty sure that you should not be able to. I mean, there should be no leak when it comes to input. Although what I think happens here is that it may happen that adversary will learn the output, but honest nodes will not.
And that's something you can't prevent in the dishonest majority case.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. Okay. So that goes over basically what the protocol does. The details of which are explained in the paper, especially like the instantiation with the homomorphic encryption step. There's actually this really nice framework called SPDZ, which implements a lot of these frameworks. So you see that there's there's many variations of SPDZ, particularly there's Mascots and like all these other ones which have different properties, as you can see here. This is from their GitHub, by the way, which explains what they do. It's interesting because it's general purpose, so you can really do any or a lot of complex computations with it. There's this one paper where they showed how you can do threshold ECDSA, for example, with it, and how there's actually, even though it was like general purpose, it was like very competitive to these specialized protocols which exist. And the thing is, it's easier to do because there's less things to get wrong because you put your trust in this engine. I mean, there's obviously going to be this. You're going to have to weigh the balance out if pre-processing is interesting or not, depending on your use case. But it's still a very interesting technique, and I found the paper really interesting. I'm looking forward to play a bit around with this MP SPDZ implementation and see what you can do with it. But this whole field is really interesting, and I'm happy, looking forward to learn more about it. And I hope everything was clear for you guys.
Yeah, it was pretty clear. Although I have one more question related to the beginning of the talk. You said, I think, that this homomorphic encryption idea of creating this or homomorphic encryption based preprocessing is slower than the one based on oblivious transfer.
Oh yeah, I'm not sure about that at all. I think it's just I read it once or twice. It was maybe in a special case where it was faster.
I think I mean, I read this paper like a year ago or even more, but I think the reason for homomorphic encryption was that they said it's faster. But I mean, I wouldn't bet too much on that.
I think where that came from is like, again, for the threshold ECDSA, I think the oblivious transfer was in that specific case, it was faster, but it required a lot more communication. Whereas the homomorphic encryption based on the Baye crypto system, it was slower. There was more computation involved, but you had less communication complexity.
So it probably looks different depending on the number of nodes. I mean, for high number of nodes, the communication will be the bottleneck, and for like 3 nodes, most probably the local computation part.
Again, I think in these cases, it's a question of trade-offs, and even though these things are general purpose, you've got to like adapt depending on your use case.
Mm-hmm. What's surprising for me, I mean, we discussed this last week, but most of these things which are implemented in MP SPDZ somehow are taking advantage of garbled circuits idea, which is not present in the classical SPDZ, which you just described, right?
No, so I mean, they talk a bit about the circuits, but it's not like their main point in a way. Like, I think the idea is you can, I mean, in the end, it's like these idea of circuits and so on. It's just like having these, I think, gates represented by these secret sharings, and you just like have you operate with a secret. How can I say? Yeah, I think you can adapt the ideas from SPDZ to the circuit-based way of representing it.
It's not straightforward for me at all.
I'm not so sure. I didn't look that much myself into this all these circuit things, so I can't really say. I'm sorry.
No, sure. I think it will just be a cool topic for some future seminar to see in which part it's helpful to use this circuits.
Maybe next week we can do.
Does anyone know what's the best paper to do? I mean, I know that there are these marbled circuits, although I think this is like the most advanced work in this area, so I'm not sure whether it's a best place to start. I mean, it literally.
It's one of the first ones, right?
Okay, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's actually a good place.
There's also Motion. That's quite recent, but they get only more contrived every year. So, could we look at your first few slides maybe? Because I think we missed them.
Yeah, of
course.
I
just want to see what you
what
you were talking about.
Yeah. So yeah, I just mentioned the properties you're going to want.
Yeah, so I was thinking though, is it not possible to do so you can have up to n failures instead of n-1? For example, this would be useful for if you're doing some kind of outsourcing. So like the data owning party would not be part of the computation, but could like validate the output still using the MAC or something like
for
that.
example,
So,
the MAC key would be known only to the outside party, right? So it's
yeah, so because I think I saw something similar. It was like an SQL system, secure SQL system. They somehow did it that you can have n failures in like a group of computing parties. So,
I mean, they will recover secrets, of course, but they will not be able to convince you for the wrong output, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
What do you mean by having n failures? Like,
so even if all the nodes are controlled by the adversary, then of course they will be able to extract the secrets, although they will not be able to convince you that the wrong output is the correct one, because they will not know the authentication key.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so, because like it would just depend on this this input phase, right? Where that's where you generate the secrets. And would you? That's a good question. I have to think about it more. Yeah. Right.
Also, I'm not sure it's possibly would be interesting for the blockchain case to have an MPC which is robust, at least in some sense. So, for example, that after pre-processing, you do some kind of checks, and then you're sure that even despite few crashes, you will be able to continue with the computation. I mean, so you don't necessarily require everyone to be online. I mean, of course, when the adversary is, I think, I mean, intuition would be that if you get adversarial thresholds to, I don't know, 60%, let's say, then you could possibly tolerate 40% crashes or malicious behavior and still proceed with a computation, like a strong form of attributability.
Oh yeah, so in this setting, I'm not sure. So you're saying like abort, like, or if you do it abort, you know who has misbehaved?
Yeah, like the weak version would be that after like we get an abort, we are able to identify the adversary, and then we just throw him away and start again. The strong version would be that, well, we can carry on without this abort. You can start again without the guy.
Yeah. So I think that would involve quite a bit more. Like you couldn't do it as is. You'd have to add another layer of something, because like all I mean, you could definitely abort when like the at this decommitment phase, and then you know who it is.
Yeah, although I think the SPDZ in its normal form does not have full attributability, right?
No. Like,
and also, like, due to the fact that everything is shared just additively, it's obviously like it's enough that one party will abort and everything. Exactly. I mean, you cannot restart. You just so you would definitely need to use other secret sharing with other threshold.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, that's.
Although I don't think that there is a theoretical result which would prohibit it. I mean, with this threshold ECDSA, that there are already protocols which are attributable. So usually you need to rerun them, but still, I mean, you know who was the faulty party, so you rerun without the party, and you can continue.
Yeah. Another question I'm thinking of right now is like, you could, I mean, instead of having it additively shared, would it be like an easy way to transform this to have like the Shamir sharing instead? And
Yeah, I guess that there is a good reason why don't. I mean, it would be super nice generalization, and well, it's not in the paper, so I would assume that there is some some obstacle here. Actually, without attributability, I mean, you would not really gain much from other types of sharing.
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
definitely.
Or no, actually, you could. I mean, the model where you don't attribute fault, but you are resilient to crashing nodes would be interesting anyway.
But I mean, this doesn't work in the dishonest majority case. But I mean, if like maybe. That's a good question. But like resilience is not possible for a dishonest majority in any case. So
yeah, I mean, I think theorem of the type, I mean, protocol with the following properties. One, first property, it's resilient towards 2 crashes, let's say. Okay, just 2. And the property number 2 is that it tolerates up to n-3 adversaries in the sense in which SPDZ tolerates adversaries. I think that is possible in theory, and in ECDSA, I think there are protocols which have similar similar properties due to fault attributability. I'm not sure what's the analogy in words of MPC for this attributability enhanced protocols.
Yeah, no, it's because like in the ECDSA case, it's like the release of protocols I saw, they're like they're quite highly specialized.
But this problem of ECDSA is actually harder. I mean, this is MPC with an addition of group operation, which makes the whole thing cryptographically harder, not easier.
Yeah.
So I'd assume that it's possible here as well. And I'd argue that in the blockchain scenario where you would possibly often want to have this MPC run by, I don't know, 20 or 30 nodes, like resilience towards 1 or 2 of them crashing would be a nice property.
Yeah. And I would not know how to do that. So like the ECDSA case, the attributability, that's done by using the LGML encryption there, or like in the exponent.
Yeah.
No? But
I think there are 2 ways, and one of them is by LGML indeed.
Yeah, because I think if you were to do that, then you would kind of replace these MAC checks. Because the MACs are like serve this purpose basically, where you can you do these. How can I say? You carry over the operations that you do locally in the MAC, or you do the same operations that you would do locally on the shares. You do them on the MACs, and therefore you can check that everything was correct. But that's the idea of what you're doing when you're doing the encryption in the exponent. Except it's to check the validity. It's a lot more complicated with the LGML case, right? It's like
also, I think multiplication is a bit more complex, as you need to usually. Right. I mean, it requires more communication to multiply things in this SPDZ protocols.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely.
So I'm not sure whether this ideas generalize to thresholds strictly lower than n, as well as the other ideas from ECDSA. But like I think there is like 20 papers on SPDZ after SPDZ. So
yeah,
definitely someone had to ask this question and try to respond.
You should look. Yeah, there's like there's a lot. Yeah. But would it make sense to have like a more involved protocol, but where you have this attributability?
More involved in,
as in like having the MAC be more complicated, but like you could check who misbehaved when you compute it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're not gonna get attributability for free. One thing is, for example, that each time when you send a message to anyone, I mean, for example, in these protocols, not every message is sent by broadcast channel. There are messages where just nodes send something to one node.
Yeah.
So if you want to have attributability, most probably every message needs to go to the broadcast channel.
Yeah.
At least that's the case with GG20 protocol, which have attributability on all the stages. So whenever something goes wrong, you just kind of rerun all. I mean, you reveal everything and you know, try to find out who was lying. So to reveal the messages which were passed just between two parties, I mean, if they didn't go through the broadcast channel, you're gonna have rather hard time to figure out what was the actual message, because I mean, they can give different opinions on that.
Yeah.
So these protocols usually tend to have like all like the message complexity times O of n in comparison to the normal protocol.
No, definitely. Yeah, that'd be interesting to look into more. Yeah. So.
Any more questions for someone?